Access TV. My name is Leah Zalams and I am your host. And today I have with me the wonderful Susan Tormollen, who's based in Austin, Texas. And she is a ex-corporate warrior and marketing executive, and now working with women like myself, helping women to transition from the corporate environment into their own business. And she runs a fabulous program called Camp Do It. And today we are going to do a lightning round session where the tables are turned, and Susan is going to interview me, and we're going to do this in 20 minutes flat. So welcome, Susan, and thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, you bet. Thanks for having me. I'm glad we get to flip the channel here. And just for anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Susan Tormollen. I'm the founder of Camp Do It. And Camp Do It does help women, primarily over 50, start side businesses. But in some cases, people are actually either starting retirement businesses or they're quitting their corporate job. A lot of people in the Camp Do It community, though, keep their corporate jobs for a while and then start their next gig, or they do it at the same time. So Leah, I'm going to jump in and ask you to give us, a minute or two, a description of what your business is, who you serve, and maybe some of the programs you offer.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, I just want to say too that we are going live to LinkedIn, to Facebook and YouTube. So if you're watching on those channels, then do put a comment in the comments so that we can see, where you are and who you're from. And if you've got questions, we promise we will come back and answer them. So, it's like, so please do let us know where you're from. And, so for me, where do I come from in a nutshell? I have a long history originally as a biochemist, and then I found my way into sales in healthcare and medical technology for some 3 decades. So always in that sales, business development, in cutting edge technology to help create a better life experience for people. So always in the people business, as it were, and people and money. That has always been the 2 big drivers, or 3 big drivers: people, money, and health. And so I had a very colorful career, many different companies, many different roles. And then it was really in that late 40s, early 50s stage where I really wanted more, and I didn't know just what that more really was. But, again, it was a case of looking at what did I love? What was I good at? Talking to people, understanding what makes people tick. Why do we do what we do is really the underlying core question that drove me into my biochemist degree. How does life work at the molecular level? In the sales industry, how does business and people make decisions about where they spend their money and how they spend their money and what represents value, right? Because any sales interaction is a value discussion, and there is always a buyer and always a seller. And so that drove me quite naturally. It directed me into coaching and consulting with people in health. And what I found was that initially, as a health consultant, health coach, helping people with weight loss, I had achieved a weight loss goal myself reasonably, like on my own, just follow the menu and it works, right? And we do what the program says. It works. So I thought, great, I'm going to help other people lose that weight, particularly middle age, it tends to creep on. And nobody could stick to it, Susan. Nobody could do what I did. And I was so frustrated. I thought, I must be the worst coach in the world that I cannot help someone do what I did, right? That thing of that we hear so many stories of, I did it, and because I did it, I'll show you my program and you follow my program and it's going to work for you. we're not cookie cutters, like human beings are not made of, like, yes, we are of the same, essence, but our colors and our dimensions, we are all so unique, and there is no one size fits all. But that question of why don't people do what's good for them really drove me into coaching psychology, because I decided I wanted to be more of a move into corporate coaching and executive coaching. But what qualifications do you need for that?
Let me stop you there. Because one of my questions was and is, because the way I'm going to do this, I'll ask you 3 questions, then have you give us 2 tips, and then we're going to wrap it up with one special section. So one of my questions was, did you just leave corporate and start this, or were you kind of plotting and planning while you kept your corporate job? And
I've been plotting and planning all my life. I've been an entrepreneur through and through.
Okay.
And so I never just did one thing. I had a job, but my husband and I always had our wealth creation strategy that we built side by side to the job. And that, just as you asked me that, Susan, that's a really good insight, because I hadn't actually put those two together as a point of difference as to what creates success after the corporate job, and why that jump can be so difficult to let go of that 6-figure income that the executive salary tends to be. And then suddenly you've got nothing. Now, if that's you, it's really, really scary, right? But because I've been trying all sorts of things all my life, all sorts of, like, the property market and network marketing, and I've been a shocking network marketer, and I've been, it's like shiny object. I love it because I love exploring. It's the curiosity. It's the curiosity and the quest for exciting experiences, right? So
you had a lot of skills already before you started. You understood business, you understood taxes, you understood marketing, correct? But then there were nuances that you didn't understand.
The outward bound process of actually talking to people on the phone and asking for appointments and asking those hard questions around, is there something I can sell you, right? Not in those terms, but that is what a sales conversation is. You're looking for whether there's a match between your product and a problem that client has. So that's been my whole quest, my whole life. So that's what I find is a skill where I complement business owners and creators particularly. So people who are writers and and have, maybe they resonate as healers or helpers. Like, I've never seen myself as a helper, always as a driver. So I think this is also a point of difference, where coaching is very much a helping profession, definitely. But I feel like I drive people towards where they want to go. And that's a style element too. And because there are a lot of similarities between the coaching process and the sales process, most definitely. And the people skills, the emotional intelligence, all of that. But also the job isn't done there though, is it? And I guess that's what drove me to do a university degree, my master's in coaching psychology, because I wanted the premier qualification. I wanted the university supported, the tertiary supported recognition.
So when did you do that? You were still employed and you did that, or you quit?
Yeah, in my last corporate job is when I thought enough is enough. And I found this degree I could do part-time, and I spoke to a lot of my psychologist coach friends, and definitely this was the premier qualification if you wanted to work in organizational psychology and in corporate executive coaching. And it's a 2-year qualification, and it gives you a solid theory and evidence base for why we do what we do. Goal setting.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in here so we keep under our 20 minutes. Yeah. So you were working what you knew was probably your last corporate job. You knew you wanted to do coaching, and you were actually working on the certification process of it while you kept that last corporate job.
Yeah.
All right. So then let's ask the second question. You jump ship. You say, I'm retiring from corporate America. Did you instantly jump into this business? And tell us, one, yes, you did. And then two, what was it like going from corporate to being a solopreneur with no, basically parachute on the other side?
Scary. Because even with the qualification under my belt, that still didn't teach me or show me, well, how do you actually go and get business? How do you actually find people who want to hire executive coaches? And do you know how hard that was to get any information from anyone about that? And this is then what led me into yet another course. And it's been a series of courses really over the last 5 years of business skills around marketing, around digital marketing, around branding, around course creation, around how to do tech like this, how to balance business development and delivery, because I'm doing all the things as a solopreneur.
Right.
And I really wanted it to be like, a lot of people fall into it perhaps because they go back and start consulting back to their old company, or there are, executive coaching organizations you can join, as associates and as coaches for them. But I really wanted to build my own brand. I really wanted to create my own agency and create my culture and work for myself. And so that was very, very strong for me. And so that's what kept me investing and continues to keep me investing and growing and trying.
Right. No, I love that. I've known you since we took a class together. It's been about a year. And I'm always impressed with you. Oh, I'm testing this. Oh, I'm trying that. So my next question, actually, I'll tell you the next two questions. The next question is going to be talking about your runway and how you planned for the fact that this wasn't going to be a straight path, or if you didn't plan for that, and then you kind of got shocked and had to reevaluate. And then the second question after that, you can bring them all together if you want, is what's been the hardest thing? And I think when we talked before this, you had mentioned marketing, that there were a lot of stops and starts. So maybe tell us a little bit about the biggest challenge you had, if it was marketing, and what you've done to keep improving, make it better, make it less of a challenge.
Yeah, great question. And the one thing that comes to mind for me, and what I'm really grateful for, that when I started looking at, well, how am I going to learn about the business of growing a coaching business, that I came across a consultant who looked me in the eye and said, this is going to take 3 years. There is no shortcut to establishing like what you tell me you want to have, right? And that is the difference too, I think, between someone who comes out and wants to do consulting and go gig to gig, right, as a consultant in an organization, as opposed to actually building out some kind of a business, and branding themselves as a business and wanting to create a business, because a lot of it evolves as you take action, like getting out and doing video, right? That was, again, one of the earliest skills that this coaching program I took. We had no option, that we actually had to do a video interview to as phase one of that program. So learning a lot of those skills to get out there and put yourself out there and learning and doing without any immediate results to show you whether it's working or not. I think that's the hardest thing.
I find the same thing, from corporate America, the numbers are bigger, right? So you do a test, maybe within a week or a month or 2 months, you can see results. But when your numbers are this big, it could take 2 years before you even knew if that ad was really, not exactly, I'm exaggerating, but it takes a long time when your database has 300 names on it.
Well, and this is the whole thing of learning and there are so many different marketing strategies we can deploy, aren't there? And so, and it really, there's a lot of getting burnt and getting back up again. So the runway, again, there's the pundits that come out and say, you don't need any money. You can start a coaching business, on the back of a smell of an oily rag or whatever, that is rubbish. That's absolute rubbish, because the investment I've made in my own personal and professional development since leaving the corporate life, because remember in corporate life, that's all paid for you.
Right.
Your phone is paid for you. Your car's paid for you. None of that.
Maybe not here in Austin, Texas.
You work for yourself. And it's a rude shock, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, I would say you want to have a good runway of at least $100,000 if you are serious about really developing a business that can become a legacy, that can then generate money for you, right? To start employing people and having programs that then people buy, on autopilot. Well, I'm nowhere near that, Susan. Everything I do is because I speak up and I ask for the business, right? It's extremely manual.
I think that, but also, people go in thinking, oh, I'm going to spend 10,000. You may, depending on what you're doing and what your objective is. Are you trying to make 1,000 a month? Maybe you could. Yeah. I did marketing consulting without spending any money, but it doesn't make as much as a corporate job does for what I needed it to help kind of pay some bills while I was building a business. But most
you're putting your skills to work, and
like you said, though, that if you're building a business that you want to be a full-time business at some point, you're going to have some investment, and really sitting down and thinking about it makes sense. All right, well, let's move into the tips. What two tips do you have to give people who are, let's say, in a similar position? Maybe they're 5 years away from wanting to leave corporate America. They have an inkling they want to do something else. What are the two tips you would give them?
I definitely recommend starting while you're still employed. Absolutely. And this plays into your model, Susan, and where you're, inspiring and educating women in that exact sweet spot of, hey, I know I don't want to be here till I'm 65, right? And particularly in that around about 40 is usually when we start questioning, like, how much meaning, how am I being valued, all of that. That's the perfect time to be starting to research, well, what would you do if money was no option, or if we had the magic wand, what would be your ideal dream business? And definitely for me, at the core of why I do what I do and what I encourage everyone is to find that core, that thing that truly lights them up. And for me, it really is. It is equipping and facilitating all of us to rise and to live and breathe and lead in our full potential, and to stand up and lead, stand up and be heard, stand up and speak your voice. And the only way, or the best way to learn what you want to speak about is to start speaking. Start speaking about anything. And life.
That will be the quote I put on my little social post.
Yes. And that was probably the best tip for me, because we evolve into what our niche should be, right? We are in the era of shared experiences, shared values-based experiences of community building, of audience building, of like this business of finding our tribe. As much as I don't resonate with that word tribe, I absolutely resonate with community and with amplification through numbers, and the saying 1% of 100 people is going to be far more impactful than 100% of one person, right? We think about our brains. And that's what I love about collaborating with yourself, Susan, is that we are both engines and drivers of change, something we want to see to be different. And the thing that pains me is seeing people who have given up on themselves, and they don't think they've got it in them. They think they're too old. They think they're too fat. They think they can't do anything about their habits. They think they were born, that their DNA is completely like unchangeable, right? Because that's what happened to them as children. They can't possibly be any different today. And we've got to shake that out. And that's what I love about science. That is the more and more evidence coming out that our brains are so plastic. You know, I believe we're going to see people, walk again out of, with spinal injuries that, that have kept them, bound for so long. Like technology is happening at lightning speed, and all of this takes investment. And the more of us that speak up and continue to fine tune our path, right, and to fine tune our message and fine tune what it is, our ultimate dream, I feel like I'm living my dream on a lot of levels already. And I've got so much more to give and do and make happen.
That is awesome. So I think you only gave me one tip. I want one more.
Yeah, one tip is absolutely to start while you're employed, right? And start researching, but start doing. Don't just book research. Don't just internet research. Take the plunge and connect and buy into a program, right? But do your research about the person. And that's why these types of interviews are so powerful, Susan, because video is the next best thing to seeing what someone is really like. Like, this is how I am with my clients. And, and in my client journeys, we're always come at loggerheads at some point because I'm too direct, or, there's sparks, and because disruption doesn't happen just by being namby-pamby. It's not just about being supportive. We've got to challenge. We've got to challenge that status quo. And that's my second tip, is if you're feeling something that gurgling inside that, wants to be suppressed and pushed down, because we've always pushed stuff down, bring it out and get a coach to help you bring it out, because the faster that comes out, the faster change is possible for you.
And you might just be available if anybody needed one.
And you know what I think is also, I know we've just gone over time, but like a couple of years ago, there was a statistic that there was something like 10,000 new coaches coming out in the world every year. I believe that has skyrocketed now. I think it's probably more like 100,000 new coaches every year, but bring them on, because the more people that come into coaching, the more of this sort of positive personal and professional development gets prioritized. And the more of us that are out there shaking the trees for positive good, the world has to become a better place for everybody.
Right. And like you've said before, and we've heard before, there's somebody for everybody, right? Yeah. I could go interview 5 coaches, and 3 are going to be absolutely like, nope, not a fit. And 2 might be okay, but then still trying to figure out which one. That's the game, right? But there's so many different personalities. So our last,
don't be afraid to invest, though. Even if you get it wrong and you have to sack the coach, do it, because it has to work for you too. And that's the great thing about coaching relationships, that either one can sack, can call it quits, right? It has to be that way.
Totally.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, that's all right. I was just going to wrap it up with, what's the one wish you have?
Oh, the one wish I have is that if you are watching, I see we've got Ray Leone here, and you are building your business at 80. Oh my goodness, what a fabulous story that is. And you've had your second best year ever in 2021. So listen, we're talking about 40-year-olds and 60-year-olds. Man, we've got an 80-year-old leader here. Right?
That's awesome.
And I think this is my wish for my mantra for myself as well is that keep leading yourself and keep believing that you can. Because if we believe we can, we're going to find a way. If we believe we can't, then we're shutting ourselves down already. And no matter where we are right now, we are exactly where we need to be. And the more of us that keep getting up and going one more time, there is a pot of gold for each of us. I truly believe that. And whatever that pot of gold is. And for me, I want to continue to live my absolute, best life and keep striving towards my highest potential, because I'm not there yet either. And that's why I love creating courses and programs and exploring problems that I might be able to apply my skill set to accelerate the problem solving gap, right? Because we're solving problems. We're looking for problems to solve. So let's find those big ones and go get them.
That is awesome. Well, I've had fun chatting with you. So, and it was fun being live. And I can't believe we have an 80-year-old who's had the best year yet. I love that. That is the best thing ever.
Imagine the lived experiences that he brings, Susan. And I think on that note, this is also what I want to give to each and every one of you listening or watching, is that your lived experience matters. Your story matters. There are gems of learnings and gold that are meaningful to others. And this is also why engaging in coaching programs and continuing to hone your self, your self-worth, your self-confidence. There is no greater journey than that journey to self, because through doing that, you're actually being of service to the world. Do you know that? And I don't think people know that when we do this for ourselves, we are actually giving that in itself is a gift. Whether you build a coaching business or make money out of it is a whole different thing. But your own releasing yourself, your best self on the world, is the best ammunition for any kind of enemy. I don't know where that came from, Susan, but
I liked it. I liked it.
Note to end on, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to delve into a little bit about my story and how I think and what I do. And I trust that there are learnings that people can be taking away from that. And so if people do want to delve more or learn more about my programs, I do have my Sales Accelerator program. The link is on my LinkedIn profile and on my Z-Axis profile, and definitely connect with me. LinkedIn, subscribe to my YouTube channel as well, and the Facebook. And so, they're the three channels I tend to be on. Susan, what about for you? What's the best place for people to learn about you and learn more about Camp Do It?
Well, Camp Do It has its own website, so it's campdoit.com. Or we also have a really great private community on Facebook called the Side Hustle Doers. So you can search Side Hustle Doers, and we've got women who are thinking about starting side businesses, already have side businesses, are solopreneurs, and we actually have a handful of people that are managing multiple side businesses, kind of taking 3 or 4 small ones and turning it into one income that supports them. So yeah, anybody who is interested.
Is it Camp Do It, all one word?
It is .com.
Can you see it on the screen? Is that right?
I don't see it. I don't see the same screen you do.
Oh,
we can add it later.
We're learning about technology here. Okay, so we are just under 30 minutes. That is extraordinary. I so value your time, your focus, your insightful questions, Susan. My goodness me.
Well, thank you, because this is great. You had some great points here that I think will help a lot of people that are in my community too.
Fantastic. Beautiful. All right. Well, let's sign off for now. And if this is your first time on Z Access TV, thank you for joining me. And this is a channel that is dedicated to supporting women in business. And I'm running a series of interviews on marketing and what's working, what's not working. If you are someone who is passionate about your business changing the world and you've got some great marketing stuff that is working for you, I want to hear from you. And if you're struggling with marketing and if you're struggling with getting things happening, you're wanting to build an audience, connect with us as well. And so stay tuned, and thank you everyone for watching.